Well, hello there. Welcome to your Wednesday. If you're listening on the 22nd of November, the day before Thanksgiving, it's Thanksgiving week, and I'm very excited that I've got the hilarious and always very thoughtful and brilliant Ophira Eisenberg. Comedian Ophira Eisenberg joins me again, the host of Parenting is a Joke podcast, former host of Ask Me Another on NPR. It's always a great day when Ophira stops by. It's been way too long since we've spoken, and I think you're going to love our conversation. But I do want to make sure you know that I am hosting a Thanksgiving-themed hangout this evening. That means nothing. It's just a regular hangout, but it's Thanksgiving-themed if you want it to be. How about this? Bring some new people by. Maybe you've got some friends or loved ones in town that you are spending Thanksgiving with, and you want to bring them by the hangout. We always love to meet new people. We welcome new people, and of course, new subscribers to the hangout each and every week. So stop by 8 p.m. East tonight. I hope to see you there. I am posting a little bit lighter than I do most weeks this Thanksgiving week because Ava's home. My parents are coming down. Of course, it is Thanksgiving, so taking it a little bit easier. But I do have some news that I love to read and mention here at the top, including just that, you know, you're going to be probably traveling for Thanksgiving. And so I want to thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. Tell your friends some of your favorite episodes to listen to. But guess what? It's going to be record crowds expected to take to the air and roads this year, according to the Associated Press. Despite inflation and memories of past holiday travel meltdowns, millions of people are expected to hit airports and highways in record numbers over the Thanksgiving break. The busiest days to fly will be Tuesday and Wednesday. That's yesterday and today, as well as the Sunday after Thanksgiving. The TSA expects to screen 2.6 million passengers on Tuesday, 2.7 million passengers today. Sunday will draw the largest crowds with an estimated 2.9 million passengers, which would narrowly eclipse a record set on June 30th. So AAA is then also forecasting 55.4 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles from home between next Wednesday and the Sunday after Thanksgiving, with roads likely to be the most clogged today. So thank you for taking us with you on your day. If you are traveling to a Thanksgiving destination or anywhere else, very happy to be with you. Mother Nature, of course, the X factor is going to be some extreme weather in different parts of the country. So prepare for your holiday travel. Be patient, stay present, mindful, and know that I am not going anywhere. We're staying right here. I'll be right here with my folks and looking forward to couple of days of downtime and good food and cheer and fun. All right. Thanks again for everybody who commented on my conversation with JoJo from Jers yesterday. A lot of great feedback on that one, and I'll be simulcasted on her podcast, I think, today, so look out for that, and go let her know that you heard her here. She's very big on Threads, and she suggested I really focus on that social media platform, so definitely follow me on Threads. I'll try to be posting more there and let her know that you heard her here. The big news last night was that Israel and Hamas have agreed to a hostage deal and a 4-day pause in fighting in Gaza. They announced separately last night that they've agreed to a Qatari-mediated deal in which the militant group will free dozens of Israeli hostages in exchange for a 4-day pause in fighting in Gaza and the release of dozens of Palestinians held in prisons in Israel. The deal, once implemented, could be the biggest diplomatic breakthrough in the first major pause in fighting since the war began. In the first phase of the two-phase deal, Hamas expected to release at least 50 Israeli women and children held in Gaza, while Israel is expected to release about 150 Palestinian prisoners, mostly women and children, over the 4-day pause. Israel will allow 300 aid trucks per day to enter Gaza from Egypt. More fuel will be also allowed in during the pause in fighting, according to an Israeli official. In the second phase, Hamas could release dozens more women, children, and elderly people. The Israeli government said it would extend the pause for every additional 10 hostages release. Unclear when the deal will be implemented exactly. The Israeli cabinet approved the deal after more than 5 hours of discussions. More than 240 people, including several Americans, of course, abducted during the October 7th Hamas terrorist attack. They've got to be released soon. I just can't imagine the horror that must be for those people and their families. 4 hostages, including 2 Americans, have since been released. 1 has been rescued and 2 others were found dead. So that, of course, is the big news from last night. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson paid his first visit to Donald Trump at a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago. Of course, Mike Johnson at one point said about Donald Trump in 2015 and recently resurfaced quotes that he was a hothead and, quote, lacks the character and moral center we desperately need, again, in the White House. And then later on, he tried to help Donald Trump stay in power and overturn a democratically election. So that's Mike Johnson for you. Should have been a fun time, I'm sure, between those two creeps down in Mar-a-Lago yesterday. All right, well, there's just a few headlines for you, and now a little bit of humor from Stephen Colbert and The Late Show, ending in a very edgy joke about President Biden having a conversation with the Grim Reaper on his birthday. Anyway, still, I thought it was hilarious. Here it is, CBS Late Show, Colbert.
Today, of course, is also Joe Biden's birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Good for you. Biden is now 81 and has broken his own record as the United States' oldest sitting president. Also oldest leaning president and oldest just lying down to rest my eyes for a bit president. On his birthday, Biden received a festive bouquet of terrible poll numbers. In fact, his approval rating has declined to the lowest level of his presidency, 40%. Still, 40%, but still pretty good for an 80-year-old guy running around town with poll numbers less than half his age. You know what I mean? You know what I don't know what I mean. I don't know why you would know what I mean. Biden still has plenty of supporters. And here's what they love about him. He's not somebody much worse, because Biden voters say they are more motivated by their desire to stop Trump than by support of the president. Well, yeah, nobody buys a fire extinguisher because they're big fans of pressurized foam. Biden's team has a couple of different ideas on how to deal with his age going into next year. One is to allow him more time to rest and not send him on so many draining international trips, which advisors call the bubble strategy. Some strategists think Biden should get out there more. One Democratic pollster said President Biden should continue to do what he's been doing, connecting personally with people and making jokes about the coverage of his age. Hey, everybody. Knock, knock. Not sure, but he's been standing silently in my doorway for a while now. He's a pale fellow, big cloak, long, sharp knife on a pole. Smiling right at me, great shed of chompers. Look into his eye sockets to see a little movie about all the fun stuff I did when I was a kid. Good stuff, funny guy. Today, there you go. Today was also, really? I don't know. All
right, there you go. President Biden talking to the Grim Reaper in that bit. Okay, well, I've got a great conversation with Ophira Eisenberg coming up. But, listen to this new promo from Pete Coe, teaming up with longtime listener Dane Winkler. Thanks, guys. I absolutely love this.
Hey there, stand-up listeners. If you like what you hear on this podcast, but not sure how to make it even more enjoyable, we have a solution. Sign up to become a stand-up Patreon member. You get all the benefits of the episodes you love, plus access to our members-only hangouts, as well as our amazing Patreon listener community. Patreon members like Dane in Butler, Pennsylvania.
I've been listening to Pete for many years now. He's down to earth, asks great questions of his guests, and is always open and vulnerable about his love for big hats and Crocs. Not that I'm a fan of big hats and Crocs, but the lack of shame is impressive.
You're not wrong, Dane, and thanks for being a subscriber. Go to patreon.com/Pete Dominic or visit the show's website at standupwithpete.com and click on the big red button that says Support Stand Up.
Yeah, thank you, Pete Coe. Thank you, Dane. If you want to send me an email or rather be a part of those promos and say a little something like Dane did there, email me, standupwithpete@gmail.com. I'll hook you up with Pete Coe, and you can make it happen because that's great. All right. Well, it's been way too long since we've had comedian Ophira Eisenberg here on the show. She's a very good friend of mine who I've known most of my career. and we had a great conversation catching up. You know, most of the time I'm talking to experts, analysts, scholars, journalists, doctors, scientists, etc. here on the program and about important issues, but a couple times a week I will talk to somebody who has a great healthy perspective and good, I think, moral clarity on a wide range of issues, as well as a great sense of humor and unique way of presenting it. Ophira is one of those guests, along with people like Mara Quint and Christian Finnegan, Jael Kovan, and so many other really funny, thoughtful people. So that's what we do with Mara. Ophira today, where we talk about how live performance is back, according to Ophira. She talked about her tour across Canada, being away from her family for 6 weeks, the guilt she felt during all of that other people kind of put on her, work-life balance. We talked about a hilarious ethical dilemma that she had with a babysitter, her thoughts on the war in Israel, given the fact that her family was living there before it was even Israel, as a matter of fact. Really interesting conversation, as we always have. Ophira Eisenberg, links all in the show notes. Follow her on TikTok and Instagram especially. Go get her album and listen to her podcast, Parenting is a Joke, which is so good. Let's do it right now with Ophira Eisenberg.
Welcome back. Hi.
Hi. Thanks. I will say that I felt so pleased when one of your listeners reached out to me and said asked when I was coming back. Is that nice?
It's not one person just asking you. It's several people asking me. Recently, a listener who I really trust and admire and like a lot, was like, everything okay with Ophira? And
oh my God, that's so nice.
I was like, I don't know. What did she say? I think so. Yeah, no, I have missed you, and I'm really happy to see you, and I'm really happy that you're here, and everybody is happy that you're here. You have been a very busy Ophira, haven't you?
I'm a very busy Ophira. By the way, I appreciate that listener, because no one in my close circle of friends has said, is everything okay?
That's very, that listener says that. Very kind person. Yeah. Very thoughtful. You have
I've been
working your ass off.
Here's what I feel. Yeah, I've had my foot on the pedal, just because few things. And one of these things is, Pete, entertainment goes in cycles. I think we all know this. When I started comedy, maybe it's around the same time that you started comedy, nobody liked comedy. Like nobody, it was hard to get people to go to shows. The clubs were not, in New York, weren't considered exactly like, not everyone was like, oh, let's go to a comedy club in New York. And right now, comedy is booming, and it will change again. And so I feel like get whatever you can while you can.
I'm glad to hear that there's a lot of work out there seemingly right now. And more importantly, that people are going out to see live performance. I'm sure it's not just comedy. I think I really slowed down with my live performance after the pandemic hit. Haven't really gone back into the city clubs. I wasn't there too much, but a couple times a month up until that point. But it's back, huh? It's back, baby.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. And you're right. It's like music. I think Broadway is doing pretty good. People are out. I don't know when that will change again. But I just, even though, for example, tonight on a show, I just got a revised lineup because they were like, so-and-so got COVID. So it's just like that is going to loom forever.
Right. That's what I wonder. You wonder about it and where we're at with that, by the way, and if it'll ever be the way it was. Well, let me just specifically, you traveled across your homeland doing comedy and you were gone from your family. Yeah. I think I might have read somewhere for as long as you'd ever been gone. And how was it? What was that? You went on a Canadian tour.
It was a Canadian corporate tour. It's such a thing that could never happen in the States, or I don't know about it, but it was a wealth company, a financial planning company who for the last 20 years has done a comedy tour. They also do a music tour, but basically they employ different artists every year for tours. And they're like, hey, whoever works for this company in this town, bring your friends, bring your clients, bring your prospective clients, because we also believe in having fun. They rent out the nicest theaters in all of these places. And then everything's kind of done. You have to be clean. You have to be corporate clean. It's a corporate clean gig, which was fine, except for in one location where there was a open bar beforehand and everyone walked in toasted and they were a little rowdy. And it's very hard to deal with hecklers when you have to be squeaky clean. Let me tell you.
Oh boy, yeah. And when you're strapped in by it's a corporate, there's a lot more going on around that gig in terms of the freedom of choice you have to make on stage, and only a seasoned veteran comedian like yourselves can survive such a thing because you have a holster filled with all the resources you need. By the way, I am loving many of the, I don't know if you always post like the crowd work TikToks, but I love yours. I laughed so hard that it made me reach out to you and say, beg to talk to you. Where have you been? That's how funny it was.
Thank you. Yeah. So I went on this tour, but I felt so guilty leaving my family. And I thought I was okay with it. But then everybody I encountered was like, oh my God, you just left your family?
That's why I hadn't talked to you in a while. I thought you were morally reprehensible.
And so I started calling it my bad mom, average dad tour because, I was like, the other guy's got a kid. No?
What? How long was it?
So it was 6 weeks total. I did come back. I came back 3 times. It was supposed to come back twice for, a weekend, but I ended up coming back a third time because political unrest in Canada, my friend. These things happen. So there's a town called Prince Albert. Yes, the old Prince Albert in a can is the only, but it's in Saskatchewan, and all of the city workers are on strike. That union is completely on strike, so no garbage is being picked up to some security for government buildings. So basically, the town is kind of shut down.
Wow.
And it's been like that for, at the time, it was a month, and they had all returned to the ballot box because they were negotiating, but then everyone from the union just tore up the ballots in front of the city official's face. So they were deeming it civil unrest.
I mean, I had no idea about that story. It's Saskatchewan. I'm looking it up right now to learn more about it. That sounds like a screenplay of
right?
an uprising of organized people wanting. It sounds like obviously better wages. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But so they canceled you and you went home and saw your family that one time. How did you, is your son is he okay? Will he ever forgive you? Will he survive? Like, what did you learn, he and you and your husband, about it?
So he's fine. They're all fine. I came back to a lot of, why the fuck is this over here? What happened over here? Is this what's been going on? I did a lot of that. And I call that, and I also just bound it in with like laundry and issue. Like I bound it in with what I call a lot of dad energy. I just like came in and considered everything like, what is going on here?
Did it occur to you that things would change at all subtly so that you'd have to come? I mean, that's got to be challenging, I guess.
Yeah. And then my son does say, he's, now it's a little bit more of a routine again, but he does say things like, you're around? He'll just say things like that. And in the parent-teacher interview I had with his teacher, she mentioned not once, not twice, but 3 times. She said, oh, I know you travel a lot. 3 times.
That, I really think you should shoot that sketch where we get to see Ophira's reaction all 3 times, subtly get worse, just wince, more of a wince, and then a wince and a deep breath out.
I was just like, well, guess what? You're probably going to, I don't have a substitute. And actually, now that I understand the public school system, either do you. They just, like, the kids dissolve into other classes like they are salt in water.
I mean, that's the same thing for your audiences if you don't show up.
Yeah, someone else just consumes your time. They're like sharks just eating it up.
Did you seriously have and deal with guilt and shame? And if so, how?
Oh, I mean, it was just coming at me all the time. And, I guess I went into it like, my husband knows what's going on. We made a deal, and doing this. But the more people said it, it does. First couple times annoying, third time irritated, fourth time I was like, oh, like, is this bad? Does no one do it? Like, I started going, does no one do this? Am I crazy? Because at the end of the day, Pete, I was doing it. Obviously, it was kind of a cool opportunity. But that aside, we're not in that world anymore where I'm just like, I wanted to see some different cities. We're in the world of making money. And, from a creative point of view, because it was corporate, it's not saying it was zero creativity, but it's not like, hey, I'm just going to, be wandering around in my own set. This is a very specific thing. And I looked at the money at the very end of the day and I was like, not enough. Seemed like enough at the outset. But when all was said and done, I was like, God, I have to make more. I would have to make more next time to justify all what happened.
A lot
also,
of it is because you fettered it away during those gigs.
Well, that's true too. Just because, I don't know if you can travel. Sometimes I was in small towns and you're still like, the food is expensive. Everything is expensive. Like there is no deal out there.
Yeah.
There is no whatever, like $10 breakfast even. It's all crazy. So, with the Canadian dollar, you start factoring into your brain that you're getting some sort of deal. But I was being paid in Canadian dollars. So
that's funny. Wow. So let me just on the question of like you being away from your son and your husband being home with him, how much, I'm just wondering, like, does it always strike you as kind of, no one ever says this to dads, to male comedians who are basically, the exact equivalent, right? They do stand up. That's their job. It's a huge part of their job, at least.
I don't think so. I mean, so this one that came at me really, I think, made me double down on this. Someone said to me, and I quote, "Wow, I can't believe you're doing that. Your husband is such a great guy for agreeing to that." So just think about that in reverse.
Oh, I love that kind of compliment. So easy. Wow.
To agree to what part of it? Being a dad, taking care of his child, allowing me to leave the house. Let's talk about all the things that I'm so lucky this man has afforded me.
I feel like that's one of those things I've learned as I'm getting older. I don't need to take a stand and make a point, but I do need to have some kind of response, something that at least messes with them and makes me happy. And in that case, when she's like, "Oh, your husband is so good to make that agreement," I feel like you can just like, he's a painter. And just like, she's just like, "What?" And just like, you just wink at her and walk away. Like, what? Like, what do you mean? He's good. It's a deal. I feel like that's what a healthy partnership in the year of our Lord 2023 is, with all the things that we've learned about independent. It should be equal partnerships, man, woman, gender. It's just like, let's just make a deal. I don't care what the gender norms are. You do this much and I'll do that much. I find a lot of the problems in relationships are simply, you're not doing enough. Like, whatever it is. I don't care what
someone's doing more. I agree. The burden of someone doing more or not doing their share.
That's a real problem. I understand that imbalance, but
yeah. And there was there was also shit that just slid and fell apart. But I'm not saying it wouldn't have if it was me as a solo parent for a month and a half, because we are so used to a 2-parent structure and, trading as need be when things are extreme. So, yeah.
Well, that's a whole different life, right? I mean, I guess you don't get to travel no matter what. You have to do a different job. So there is a thing that happened that you told me that I really want to unpack here, because there's a real scandal at your home around Babysitter Gate, and you said you would talk openly about it. So what happened? This is hilarious.
Okay, I mean, you're a while away from using babysitters. I'm sure your kids babysit, right?
Oh, but we had stories. Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So there is a little bit. I feel like there must just be a gap between what I just expect people to know what they should do. Like, I feel like there's a level of like, this should be obvious, but maybe you have to spell it all out. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have to spell out everything. So this babysitter, who's lovely, in as far as I can tell, she always seems nice, and my son really likes her. But we had her twice in a row. She's our backup babysitter, by the way, because she's a college student, very busy. So, but we got her twice in a row for whatever things. The first time was 4 hours, came home. Listen, nobody cleans up after themselves, so I'm doing the dishes. Mad. I'm always mad at that, but you can't expect any babysitter to like open a fucking door and put a dish on a rack. They don't even have to turn on a faucet, by the way. There can be no water. Zero water. But no. So I'm cleaning up. I'm a little agitated about that because I just want to go to bed. And then I look in the paper recycling. You know, we have a garbage, we have a can and glass recycling, we have a paper recycling. And in the paper recycling is a can of beer from our fridge, very specific because my husband really likes the Celebration Ale that only comes out once a year. And so he gets it and he's excited about it and he puts it in the fridge and then he kind of rations it out. So it's one of these empty beer cans in their paper recycling. And I honestly thought, oh, he must have had one like before he left and just absentmindedly put it in the wrong recycling. Okay.
That seems like a totally reasonable, unless you would be surprised he'd been having that beer. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, but it was still like weird, but nonetheless. So then 2 days pass and we use her again. And this time it was only for 3 hours and come back cleaning her dishes. And I go to take out the paper recycling and there is another beer can in the paper recycling. And I'm like, oh my God, this woman is coming to our house, hanging out with our kid, and then rifling through the fridge to find a beer. I mean, there's not much else in there, but there's food. But rifling through the fridge, grabbing a beer, drinking it, and then, listen, if you're going to hide something, I'd put that can, I mean, there's also 3 recycling bins. You can put in the right one. But if it was me stealing a beer, a finite quantity of something from someone's house that would so clearly be missed, I would put it in my own bag and truck it out of there.
Yes.
I would
That's
hide
what I was
the
thinking.
evidence.
I'd crush it down and then put it in my bag.
Exactly.
Yes.
But just to put it, like, I was like, the whole thing just reads to me like, what the fuck? And you don't get it. And then it just makes me think, you know, there's a couple thoughts. First thought is like, what else are you doing? Which is always bad. Like, if you have such poor judgment about this, what else are you doing?
Bonfire on the fire escape.
But I'm also like, do I really have to say, hey, when you come over to babysit, you can't have alcohol? Do I really have to say
How
that?
old?
In her 20s, early 20s.
Wow. So how did you, first of all, Sherlock Holmes, how did you decide, did you tell your husband, how did you jointly decide to address this? I mean, he must have been, the way you make it sound, it's a seasonal beer that he likes and he rations it out you can relate to that. And so you can understand, like, that's a thing. I only have like 6 of those in there and one of them's gone. 2 of them's gone. I'd be really upset about that. Rightfully so.
And it's not like she deserved the hoppy goodness that is a Celebration Ale.
Well,
Did she
I mean, to be okay,
have
let me
a chance
just
to
play
celebrate? No.
the only coin I can. She's of age, and there's nothing to drink but her celebratory sweet Celebration Pale Ale IPA.
There is a bunch of LaCroix. There's some LaCroix in there that she could have had. There's Brita water.
Okay, then forget it.
Water?
No. You said enough. There's LaCroix.
Yeah.
You take the LaCroix. You're the babysitter. You take the LaCroix.
And also 3 hours. Guess what? You're going to survive.
Wow.
With nothing. But, oh yeah, I mean, like, so I said, that's it. I wanted to rip off a text immediately that was so are you drinking our beer? ? You know, I wanted that.
Right.
But my husband said, he goes, it's just a beer. And I was like, no. And he was like, babysitters are hard to come by. Like, he is just like, not that big of a deal. And I just was like, but if she doesn't understand, like, do I really? It reminded me, you know, when you go to an Airbnb or whatever, and there's this binder of do's and don'ts that you're like, what? These people are insane. And then you're like, oh no, it's because everyone was written after like they showed up at the place and went, "What do you put the duvet in the bathtub?
Please don't
no
choose
duvets in the bathtub."
this weekend to clip your toenails, and if you must, over the garbage. But oh,
So
wow.
I really have to be like, hey, help yourself to anything except for there's no drinking, smoking, or doing drugs during your 3-hour babysitting stint. Hold it together.
You'll get through this. I mean, how bad is your kid? First of all, hold on a second. Now, it does beg
true.
the question.
He's driven me to drink. This is true.
But 90 minutes in, she's like, I can't. I got to have something to make this.
If I hear one more fact about Pokemon, I am going to have a beer.
Oh, wow. So what can you say the conclusion, how you decided to deal with it? Also, really interesting, and thoughtful of him to kind of be like, listen, it's just a beer. And the pragmatic of, it's hard to find a babysitter. Do we really want to fight this battle? And then why don't we just, leave some kind of a bait the next time and leave a can of Rolling Rock in there, for God's sake.
With a Post-it on it that says, "Drink me." Would you take that one? We just went for total passivity, like basically like never using her again and saying nothing.
Okay. That's fine too.
Let her wonder for the rest of her life. No, she knows. How can you not know that? I guess I just keep coming back to that question. And I think that is the fool's question. That is the fool's question. How can you not know that? She did not know that. If I said it to her, maybe she would go, "Oh, okay, sorry."
Well, the premise of my new podcast is to get unsuspecting guest friend maybe to tell a story like that and then bring that person in. So, Becky, come on into the shed.
Confront your adversary.
It's called Confront Your Adversary, Celebrity Edition, Ophira Eisenberg.
Celebrity Edition.
Yeah, the original did so well where I'd have people confront landscapers and other people who came into their homes and did similar things. Well, I think that is...
I wanted to do a podcast, by the way, called Redeem Yourself, where people who were bullied by like elementary school, maybe junior high, I think high school is a different level, and now are adults, could bring those people into the studio and be like, "Hey, this is what happened. Like, what do you want to do about it?"
That is a really fascinating idea if you could make it happen. Man, that would be like so much psychology just watching unfold.
I know. I think you need like a team behind you, because I still don't understand why
it could
Victoria Gray, real name, called me a fucking bitch in grade 7. I wasn't doing anything, and then taunted me, like really taunted me, scared me. I remember I ran home early one day from school because it was rumored that she was going to beat my head in.
Jesus. Well, you heard what happened to her, right? She was eaten by a wild boar. So
in a what was that, like some escape room fantasy based on Lord of the Rings?
Yes, that's exactly how
sorry, I was Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Flies. I was trying to say it. I went for Lord of the Rings. Oh my God.
Your premise, though, could also create more trauma for the person. And imagine like being traumatized by your childhood bully as an adult. It's like Biff from Back to the Future.
Oof. Have you watched that movie recently, by the way?
No, I don't even know how I pulled that out.
I just wanted to know if it was appropriate for a child now, or if it would be like wildly inappropriate.
Oh, why would it be inappropriate? I think it stands up. Michael J. Fox is in it, for God's sake.
Makes out with his mom? I think we can deal with that, right?
Oh, God, no problem with that. Really? Come on. I mean, like, what's it going to mean? Like, I would love to travel back in time to make out with you, because then it would be a long way to go, I think.
Yeah, right. Okay, fine. Yeah. All right. Yeah, bigger problems in this world. Bigger problems.
Don't show him Teen Wolf. I'll tell you that right now. Messed me up. Messed me. I didn't go through puberty even later as a result of that movie. Jesus.
Teen Wolf.
That was one of my burdens, late puberty.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Took a while.
Took a while. I think the only thing worse is early puberty.
For who?
Well, I guess for girls, it freaks them out, and then they are
I can see
shamed.
that. So I was wondering, I think for guys, it's a sign of
Virility or something.
Yeah, no,
Strength.
I mean, when I say late, like I was last. That's what it was. Like of my friends, I was like one of the last. I used to go look around the room going, I wonder if he's got hair in his balls yet. Like it just sucked. 'Cause I was terrified of being seen naked. There's a name for a kid who had not gone through puberty yet.
What?
They like there was like you call them a shiner. He's a shiner.
Really?
Yes.
Saying
that name triggers me now because I was afraid someone would find out.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I'm so uncomfortable that I even mention it.
Yeah, I know.
I may edit it out of the podcast.
All so cruel. We're all so cruel to each other.
My truth.
So
I'm leaving it
cruel.
in. I'm leaving it in the podcast. It's my truth, and there gotta be. I don't think anything's changed around that issue for boys. So if one person hears it and survives,
I'm going to be like, I'm fine. I mean, it just to, I'll level up here. Why don't I level up for you? I was the early one with hair, on my vagina. There you go. I was, I remember getting changed and girls would be like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, but I think nobody knew what to do with that. And I didn't know it was just going to be the beginning of a lifetime of hair, just being a Israeli hairy woman.
Feel though that for girls, I feel like it's boobs because everybody can see that you are getting boobs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And I remember my poor friend, Liz in grade 6 was someone who had boobs early. And I felt like, she was very uncomfortable with it. And guys were like crazy, probably didn't mean to tease, but just teased her relentlessly.
I just admitted this to somebody off air, and I don't mind admitting it now, but one of those girls, I committed a 5th grade sexual assault. I snapped her bra. I'd heard of that being done. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. This girl's now wearing a bra. So I went behind her and I grabbed her bra strap and I snapped it. And what happened next was bone chilling because she just turned and looked at me and gave me a look of scorn, anger, and hurt. And it told me everything. It told me that was wrong. And I got the signal from that point on. And that's why, sometimes you got to make dumb mistakes as a kid. But I learned right in that moment. I was like, oh, you can't do that. I'm not doing that again, ever. Sorry, Tracy.
That's amazing that stuck in your head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's the things. It's the things.
No one was laughing.
That.
I was always just trying to make people laugh. And so if people didn't laugh, that was signal like, oh, don't do that now. Don't do that.
That one too far and in the wrong direction.
Yes. That's the name of my first special. Too far. Headed in the wrong direction. Well, let me finally ask you just about how you're dealing with the whole the war in Israel and the horrible terrorist attack. You identify as a Jewish Canadian woman. And you did mention something about this. I'm wondering, how you're doing. I hope people are reaching out.
They are reaching out. I have some family still in Israel. My dad was born in Israel actually when it was Palestine. So technically he's a Palestinian Jew. And both of my brothers were born there before it was Israel. Actually, and the whole family left during a lot of those wars during independence because my mother was like, we cannot live in the war, so they left and they came to Canada.
I don't think I knew this. Wow.
Yes. So I have an aunt there and some cousins, and the cousins are old enough to have kids, little bit younger than me, and those kids have been called to serve.
Oof.
So, as far as I know, they're still alive and serving, but I need to get an update. So that is obviously just scary and horrible because the idea that will just all work out is extremely low. And I have had a lot of people reach out, just checking in, some coming from real random sources. And I do think there is a level of, oh my God, am I just the most Jewish name in your contacts? There is something about, in the beginning, I was like, please do not send me a text just because you read a Jamila Jamil Instagram post telling you to email a jail. Please. Please.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And also, I get it. We all people feel powerless. Obviously, there's been a lot of opinions. I will tell you, I am a little angered by some of the opinions. I do not want to hear any anti-Semitism being emboldened, nor do I want any kill all the Palestinians, blah, 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 being emboldened. None of that. I don't like any of that. And I don't know why anyone feels free as a thinking person to throw that out. And it's to me, just another level of insanity that we've been dealing with for years. But also, you feel so strongly about it while you're sipping your latte and punching it into your iPhone. Get on a fucking plane and fight. Get over there. You have a side in mind? Get over there. That's how I feel. Fight. Go fight. Go fight for the freedom you believe in.
Has anybody taken you up on that?
No, because they would rather sip a latte and punch their little opinion into their phone.
Right.
Yeah,
I love that.
We all just need thought pieces. But I really do. It's like enough with really, who the fuck cares about your point of view? Get over there and fight.
Yeah. I'm not going. You know what?
No.
It's funny that you mentioned that way, because my brother literally did that. But for the Palestinians.
He did?
He did, yeah, in 2001. My brother trained as a medic partially so he could go, and part of his training was, I think, if I have it right, was going to the West Bank, Palestinian West Bank, and he rode ambulances with Palestinian Red Crescent medics, and he was actually even detained by the IDF for 3 days because they're like, "Who are you? What are you doing?" And he did go do that. He really wanted to be the change that he wanted to see. So it's kind of interesting.
That's how it should be.
He wasn't fighting. It wasn't combat. He was a medic. He went to be a medic for Palestinians who had been shot by, who had been in any kind of accident, really. Obviously, it was just an ambulance, but some had been shot by the IDF, I believe.
Well, let me tell you, that's putting your skills into your ideology, which that's how it should go. I just feel like it's so easy for everyone here in their plushy little life to walk around and bestow their huge opinions. And I even remember my mother saying, mostly about World War II, because she was a teenager in Holland during World War II and had to deal with Nazis taking away all of their stuff and her father being missing for a long time and all of this horrible stuff. And, then she was a senior citizen and hanging out with other senior citizens in Canada. And she was like, "Oh, I found out during World War II, a lot of these people were going to dances and enjoying their life." And she was like, "What?" Goes, "But they have opinions on World War II?" I
think that's fascinating. I really think that's a great perspective. Have any friendships come unraveled or ended, or any quiet quitting of friendships?
Well, I've had to mute. Everyone has a second chance, my friend. So I've had to mute a lot of people just on the social media who decided to take up a very, I think, problematic, a hateful stance. I mean, if you have a stance, you have a stance, but one that involves direct hating of another people, I find extremely problematic and surprising. I will just say again, it's just like when people talked about I had no idea half my family was pro-Trump. It's I had no idea all these people hated Jews, super anti-Semitic, unbelievable pro-Nazi stuff that I'm just no. I will not. I'm not even going to. My eyes will not spend any time on this.
I drew a line at Nazis also.
It's not a hard line to draw. All of a sudden, it just seems like there's a lot of it. I mean, I know everyone's always hated the Jews, but at least they were quiet about it.
Well, you're hearing a lot of that, right? There's been a lot of that, not only around anti-Semitism or anti-gay, anti-black, everything. It's it seems like you can just say things that we grew up believing had in common practice and polite society. They had been retired.
Yeah. And also maybe that hearts and minds have changed because people evolved and saw things from different perspectives and understood more as we were able to gather more knowledge and go back through history and look at it from a different point of view. But no, because it's just so much easier to be like, fucking hate that. So much easier. So much easier.
Yeah, it's also so much easier to blame the Jews, I find.
It's so much easier to blame the Jews.
I sometimes, like right before I go to bed, I'm like, Jews. Then I sleep better because at least I know I've got someone. There's truth to that. Like, it's this idea. It gives you like less responsibility when you can say it's them. It's a global conspiracy. It's these people. There's nothing you can do about it. It's a lazy game. It's irresponsible. It lacks any kind of critical thinking. And it's so easily debunked that if you buy into so much of that stuff and don't realize how much nuance there is in the world about life, then it's not worth. But a lot of these people are in like leadership and influential positions and have giant platforms. Everybody's got a giant platform.
A giant platform. I know. So then that's why people are like, I guess I'll reach out to my Jewish friends and just check in. Yeah, if I feel like a elderly neighbor during a winter storm.
All right. Well, I love talking to you, and I love that metaphor to end on as a way to check in with Ophira. I'm glad I did. And I won't check in with you again until there's more violence in the world.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. That's perfect. How about
I want you to plug your current social media game because I feel like we're in such flux. I have to ask everybody, where are you mostly posting? Where are you focused? I personally love your and always have your Instagram, but now your TikTok a lot. Are you threading? Are you blue zoning blogging? So
I do have a Blue Sky. I have like almost not posted on it at all because it's still building. I'm not sure what it is yet. Yeah, I haven't threaded. I chose the Blue Sky. I like the whole feeling of it. But yeah, Instagram, I'm at Ophira E. TikTok, I'm at Ophira NYC. God damn, it was hard to get my own name on TikTok. And, but also, at Ophira E, Instagram, and then you'll just find me anywhere. And then that's where I find actually a lot of your listeners have reached out. So that's
great. Awesome. Thank you for talking to me. Let's not let it be so long and talk again very soon.
Okay. Love you, Pete.
Love you, Ophira.
All right. There she goes, Ophira Eisenberg. Go catch up with her on all of the different social media platforms, all links in the show notes. Listen to her podcast, Parenting is a Joke. So good. Such a great podcast to subscribe to. Get her albums, get her book, get everything. All things Ophira Eisenberg. Not sure if I'm going to be dropping shows on Thanksgiving and Black Friday, as they call it, the day after. Much less over the weekend. Might take a couple days off here with the family. Lots to do around the house and get ready for a great week next week. And so I'll let you know. We'll see. But I hope to see you at tonight's hangout. The link is in the email to all subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, patreon.com/Pete Dominic and join us tonight. John Carroll taking us out as he does each and every day. All music by John Carroll. Thanks again to Pete Cohn, Dane Winkler, and of course, Ophira Eisenberg. Be the change you want to see in the world, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. If I don't, have a great Thanksgiving.
Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know us right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. You got to rise up, you got to stand up, you got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence. And even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. Point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up. They had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for loss, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up and show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand